my name is Kathryn and I blog here on YouTube and also on liquidgrain.co.uk. I'm currently surrounded by packing boxes, Christmas cards, etc. And I am quite poorly. I've been kind of sick for about 6 weeks now, or just not quite right. But you know, the show must go on and you can't let things stop you. So I decided that I would film today, decided to do makeup, also discovered and decided to try purple eyeshadow for literally the first time in my life. Realized that it made me look even worse and paler. And then I did that like girl logic where I covered it with a green glitter shimmer. So I think that was an even worse decision. But I have decided today to do this video on how to kill a mockingbird by Harper Lee, and this is a classic. I think pretty much everyone in the world has already read it, and I was very late to the game. I didn't actually read it until about a year ago, and I wasn't going to do a review on it. I wasn't going to do a video, wasn't going to write a post on it, because I thought it has been so read. It has been reviewed. It is read in school, so it is, you know, very critically analysed and kind of really looked into, and I thought, what is left for me, and what value can I bring to it? And yesterday we were visiting a modern art gallery in Oxford, and we saw the sign in it, and it said, like, the good thing about art and books is that everyone who reads and experiences it can understand and add something to the art and books. So although I don't think I'm going to bring any new insight to it, I thought, let's film a video on Harper Lee's classic. So the book is set in 1930s. It is set in the South in America. It is in a town called Morecambe, I think, in Alabama, and it is small town. There is a lot of small town relations. It's told from the perspective of Scout, and Scout is a child, and she is kind of tenacious. She's a tomboy. She's got a lot of personality, and through her we learn about the kind of community relations, and in particular the race relations in Morecambe. And the focal point of the book is centered around Tom Robinson, who's a black man, and he's accused of raping and beating a white woman. And Scout's father Atticus represents and defends him in court, and it is kind of a message overall from the book is that you should always do what's right, even when it's a difficult thing to do. In addition to this being centered around the court case and the trial, there's actually kind of really quite wide community ramifications about how the community treats the kind of black-white divide in the community, which is seen all the way down into separate churches, where people sit in the trial, in the kind of court itself, and also into how Scout and her family, so Atticus, the father, and Jem, her brother, are treated by the community because Atticus is defending Tom. So meaty topics, big topics, and I think it's dealt with really effectively within the book. However, I must say I found the first few chapters really hard to get through. I thought it was a bit of a slog. I wasn't sure where we were going, and there were some nice tidbits in there, such as Jem and Scout's relationship. I think the sibling relationship was written absolutely brilliantly. It seems really authentic, and I think as well, when you take into account how much of a tomboy Scout is, and kind of her pushback against the expectations from her family, such as her aunt, about how to be a lady, what that means, and also seeing kind of how she grows up, how Jem grows up, how he understands a little bit more about what's happening during the time. And you know, I think it's just really kind of authentic and funny and heartwarming, their relationship. So I think that did shine through in the start, and it continued to. However, it was a bit tricky for me, but when we got to the trial, as soon as we had the introduction of Tom Robinson, the alleged crime, what was actually going on in the community, how everyone reacted, I think it was a really interesting and a really enthralling book, and I enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down. Apologies, this is the first video that I filmed in ages, and I read the book more than a year ago, so I am having difficulty presenting, which I am sorry about, but I have actually written out my thoughts as well, and this is me still struggling. But one thing I did want to talk about is how much of an effective tool it was to use Scout as a narrator, and to narrate the whole situation from a child's point of view. There were a lot of kind of blanks that was left because the story was told from a child's point of view. It had a kind of naivety and innocence around it, and so there was blanks in the story, almost left out intentionally, of course, but to fit in with the character's point of view. And that meant that as a reader I had to fill in those blanks, and those blanks were usually around kind of prejudice, racism, and what I know about what was going on at the time, which admittedly isn't a lot. I don't know a lot about American history in that time period, but I think that was a good way of challenging the reader to know, hey, what do you think is actually going on then? So I think having a child lead us through the story from that point of view was effective. Like I said, at the end of the day, To Kill a Mockingbird is a moral story. It's telling us that we should be doing what's right, no matter how difficult it is, and the character who really embodies this is Atticus. As a lawyer, he thinks that everyone should have their fair day in court, and particularly Tom Robinson, no matter that he's black, no matter what he's accused of doing. And I think for me that the most powerful scene and description in the whole book was when we have Atticus kind of almost guarding Tom in jail. He goes out there and protects him, and he confronts his own community of kind of white townsfolk. And I think how he individually directs and individually speaks to his townspeople was really powerful in showing that he understands what is doing right, and how important it is, and how he's done right for his community and for those individuals in all these different other times, and how he's just saying, why is it any different when I'm now doing what's right for Tom? And I think that was honestly the best written part of it, and a really powerful scene. I think as a whole, what is interesting and what is harder for me to grasp as a British person is the community and the nuanced American race relations, because we have a different historic attitudes to race and historic race relations in Britain, and compared that to American race relations, and particularly in the Deep South, both historically and in modern day, it is really nuanced and it is very different. And I'm sure there is a lot more kind of nuggets in To Kill a Mockingbird which Harper Lee have been able to put in that other people would pick up, which I haven't done. But I think it really does show the race relations. It shows the journey that America has been in the last 100 years. And for me, when I was reading it, I just thought, wow, you know, wasn't that long ago. I obviously know the big events in history, and I know that this is a story at the end of the day, but you know, this was a reality for a lot of people, and it wasn't that long ago, and race relations and really tensions are still going on to this day. And I just thought that, you know, reading a book like this, it's powerful, it's important. There's a reason why this is on a lot of schools' reading lists, and you know, I just read it because I wanted to read it. I wanted to kind of see what the hype was about, and I think it is so important. And to now put my little geeky hat on. As you might know, I study international relations, Middle Eastern studies, and I'm currently doing my MLit in terrorism and political violence, and I just want to kind of put a fun FYI that in 2017 the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI said that white supremacist terrorism is the biggest domestic terror threat in the USA, and they have the stats to back it up. I've put the link to their memo. It's only about an 8-page kind of a joint briefing note on it if anyone wants to read it. It's obviously a political document as well, so not the academic document, but there's a link to that in my blog post, which I'll put in the description below. I research this a lot. It's just what I've been doing for the last 8 years, and it is something that I think, you know, race relations and reading this, it is just so relevant. I think that if everyone took some time and read this book, it would be not be a bad thing by any measures. I think there's a lot of violent political rhetoric going on just now, both sides of the Atlantic, all over the world, and I just, you know, I don't get political on this channel, mainly because I don't think anyone will be interested in my political views, but I think this snapshot by Harper Lee, a woman author at that, is so powerful. I know there are controversies about other things that have went on in that kind of setting, about the sequel, whether it should have been released, blah blah blah, what it might have led to, but I think let's take the message in To Kill a Mockingbird, I think, for what it's intended, and let's kind of try it, really. If you've made it this far through my ramblings, through my bad video talking, presenting, I'd be more than grateful if you could leave a comment down below. Leave your thoughts.